welcome to an exciting episode 4 of the story of with Manny Lagunes. Manny, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me as always.
So, we've talked about a lot here inside of your, younger years when growing up and crossing the border illegally. And now we're at a point where we kind of want to look at some of the upsides, some of the experiences of things that you have come across inside of the lifestyle here inside of the states, as well as different kinds of lifestyles and things inside of Mexico. Being in both, what are some of the upsides from both of those experiences?
Okay, let's I guess start off with being in Michigan, right? Um, I don't know how to phrase it because I don't want to make it seem like there's some sort of underground sort of Hispanic community or a taboo. But there's definitely like a side a lot of people do not see to being an immigrant in America. Period. I'm sure you know about it a little bit in Detroit, Mexican town, etc., etc. When you're, I guess, Mexican, Hispanic, or one of these immigrant communities, you really get to see the raw version of this sort of underground lifestyle, what it's like to be amongst other, immigrants living in Michigan. It's what I like to call a melting pot. It's just a big melting pot where people come together. Really, not just Mexican people, Hispanic people of all kinds. Central Americans, South Americans, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, etc., etc. So, and I'm mentioning this because that's probably one of the best things that I can take away from being an immigrant in Michigan, in my case, just in America, period, right? The fact that I got to learn so much about different people, different cultures, just different lifestyles, things that they're into, similarities that we share, and just the relationships that you create, man. And not just with Latin and Hispanic people, but like well, for example, with you, with other just Americans. So I like that, and you know, being back here in Mexico, it sort of shows you just how wonderful America is in that aspect, because living here in Mexico already 2 years, a little over 2 years now, it's not surprising, but I almost get like a sense of excitement or relief, maybe to a certain extent, when I see like a black person here in Mexico. You know what I'm saying? I'm just so used to seeing just brown faces, Mexican people, no Central Americans, no South Americans, Cubans, Puerto Ricans, just Mexican people. The occasional Asian person again makes me feel like I'm back home a little bit. So I don't know if that's a good thing so much being back home here and not seeing that diversity, but it definitely makes me appreciate what I lived in America, in Michigan, and again in Detroit, in Ipsy, Ann Arbor is another big melting pot. So I guess that is one of the best things that I can take away from growing up as an immigrant in Michigan.
Now, just to let you know, I know that we've had technical difficulties, and we may have actually had some here in the beginning, which I kind of think I have troubleshot what that issue is. So we'll watch the video back just to make sure the audio is good. It might be messed up at the beginning, but I think I have it fixed for now on. I figured out what the problem is. So moving forward, just looking at the stereotypes of everything. Like, what is so bad in your eyes in Mexico that causes people to want to come across illegally here to the states?
The main thing, and stop me if I can't, if you can't hear me, but the main thing I think is just the economy, really. And we can sit here and talk about America's involvement throughout South America, and how they destabilize economies and governments, but just the economy of Mexico is not is nowhere near what would you call it, appropriate to to raise a
Well,
family.
elaborate. Like, what kind of bad things would there be?
Okay, so again, it's economically. So the average person here makes about 200 pesos a day. It's very rare for you to get paid by the hour, for labor, for work. It's very hard, very rare.
And so, what does that equivalent to? 200 pesos in American dollars.
And $20, $20.
And
And
how many
mind you,
hours of work is that worth?
it's a full day. Again, they don't pay you by the hour; they pay you by the day. And the work day is anywhere from 8 to 12 hours here in Mexico, which is around as similar, in America. Of course, America pays hourly, and they pay overtime. Again, the average person here in Mexico is not receiving any sort of overtime benefits, or they're receiving just a labor days worth of pay. So again, I said about 200 pesos, $20, more or less. Now the average, what would you call it? The average meal, right, for a single person here, in a hole in the wall place, or your corner, local little mom and pop shop restaurant, is going to cost you, the average meal per person is going to cost you about $70, so not bucks, I'm sorry, 70 pesos, 70 pesos, right? So when you only have 200 pesos per day, and an average meal is costing you about 70 pesos, you can see where that kind of, becomes a conflict, because aside from eating, you have to also provide. You have to provide clothing. You have to provide shelter, heat, water, gas, electricity, um, et cetera, et cetera. So it's the economy,
So
and
you're saying basically that because they're underpaid and nothing's changing with the cost, that it's just a rough lifestyle. To me, when I think about that, when I hear that from you, to me it sounds like the same kind of thing that we as Americans deal with, where they're not paying us enough, but shit still costs a lot of money. Now, the peso may be worth less or whatever compared to the American dollar, but I think that it's the same kind of trials and tribulations. So how do you separate the two? Why is one worse than the other as to why somebody for that reason would want to come here?
so, and we talked a little bit about this in one of the previous shows. If you haven't already, please, at the end of this video, go back and watch some of the earlier "The Story of" episodes, because I touched a little bit about this. In America, right, a McDouble or a McChicken from McDonald's, right, value menu costs you a dollar each, $1.06 if you're in Michigan, right? That's about 20 pesos. A dollar is about 20 pesos. Might be like 20 and some cents. A McChicken or a McDouble here in Mexico from McDonald's is not going to cost you 20 pesos. It's costing you damn near 80 pesos. You understand? So no matter like where you look at, again, I told you, like, the hole in the wall places are charging you like 70 pesos for a decent meal. And when you're only making 200 pesos a day, it's like you're barely making enough to eat. You have to factor in transportation, how you're going to get there. There's public transportation. If you have a car, obviously gas is high as well here, et cetera, et cetera. So, I think that McDonald's example is a great example, because it's American fast food, right? And America is known for its fast food restaurants, whether it's Mickey D's, Burger King, Wendy's, whatever. They all have some sort of value menu that you can afford. And that's just one example. Not everybody's eating Mickey D's in America. No. But I'm saying, though, if that is what we look at as cheap food in America, right? Cheap, accessible food.
Is that what they call it in Mexico? It's
It's
Mickey
like,
D's. I've always heard McDonald's. Do they refer to it as Mickey D's?
no, no, and no, I think I think that's a Detroit thing, actually. But
Nobody. I'm from Detroit. Ain't nobody from Detroit calling it Mickey D's. They like going to McDonald's.
what side are you? No, no, never mind. We're not going to get into this right now. But no, they don't. They don't call it Mickey D's. They call it McDonald's. But again, people that eat at McDonald's are usually making a little bit better than 200 pesos a day. That's above average. That's well above average, because again, a McDouble is costing you, again, a cool 80 pesos. So if you're eating like a meal from Mickey D's, it's like, okay, you got to be making somewhere between 400 or 500 pesos a day. Again, and it's not very much when you translate it to dollars, but for a Mexican, it's like, okay, well, I have enough so that I can at least buy a burger at McDonald's, right?
So is this? I know that we briefly talked. Did this also was a contributing factor to your family as to why they came over here.
I think so. I think so. When I was a small child and I was living here in Mexico, again, go back and watch the episodes. I urge you. Um, uh, I was in a single parent household. I was just me, my mom, and my younger brother. So it was tough. It was definitely tough. Of course, later on, my mom met my stepdad, and they figured things out, and that's when they decided that we're gonna go back to America when I was 9. Watch the previous episodes. So that was a big factor because my mom decided, hey, you know what? I'm a single mother raising two children. She was probably like in her mid 20s, and she just wasn't able to meet ends cut. So and more so when she met my stepfather, they decided, what, the best thing if we really want to make this work financially is let's look for a better opportunity in America, and that's essentially what they did. And I think it's safe to say they found it. Granted, I went through some trials and tribulations with my deportation, which we will get into. Um, but at the end of the day, man, it was a good opportunity for us as a family.
So kind of the last thing that I kind of want to delve into, since you bring it up, because when we start moving into the next episode, we're going to start getting into that whole deportation and what happened. But what I want to know in closing is to find out, where were you in your life? What were you doing? Where were you working? What were you trying to pursue? What were your goals and aspirations before shit hit the fan and you were endured, where you had endured a lot of the things that you endured prior to your deportation?
Yeah, so I got deported in 2018, specifically December 2018. Prior to this, I was living on my own in Ypsilanti. Actually, it might have been like Canton, but tomato, tomato. I was living on my own. I had just gotten a great opportunity. I had actually left Red Robin, which is where me and Michael Bowie actually met. A different location, but nonetheless, I had left Red Robin. I had left a factory job that I had, and I was pursuing sort of my solo cook career. I had obtained a job in Ypsilanti at a place called Dolores where I was able to sort of be creative with the dishes, authentic Mexican food in Ypsilanti. And I feel like I was doing pretty well, but at the same time, it's a lot better or a lot worse looking in from the outside. You understand? So I felt like it was good, but the reality is that I was being uh, dragged down by a lot of things, which we will get into. So please tune in next time. But nonetheless, man, I feel like it was a pretty unstable spot in my life.
Well, I don't know what it's like to be deported. To be forced to go back to another country, especially when you've spent so many years here, and how rough that can be. I look forward to jumping into that story and hearing more. I don't know what happened to you. You and I kind of lost contact, but what I do know is that stuff did get crazy. I know bits and pieces, but not a lot. And I know that it was worth telling. Not every day is something where a close friend of mine is deported and has to go back. You and I were at a point where we were just kind of warming up to become friends. Then you left the restaurant and everything, and so I do want to kind of know what happened. What was that story, and what happened with everything when shit hit the fan and you were forced to go back there. So we are going to delve deeper into it in episode 5. Make sure everybody that's tuning in likes, comments, subscribes, and tunes in next week for our next episode. So I want to thank Manny again for joining me, and I look forward to having you on the next episode where we're kind of talk about when shit hits the fan. Any funny final closing thoughts before we get out of here?
As always, thank you, Bowie Films. Like, comment, subscribe, man, and look out for the next episode.
Sounds good. Well, thanks everybody for joining, and we'll see you guys next week.
Appreciate it.